Evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Story Hour. I'm your host, Daniel Marcus. My fabulous co-host is Laura Blackwell, and I hope that you are all safe and healthy and taking care of yourselves and your loved ones in what, in spite of many of our best efforts, continue to be deeply weird times. I started Story Hour about 3 years ago, kind of in the throes of the pandemic, with the intention of just creating a space where my writer friends and I could hang out and share our work and just sort of be together in scary times. And Laura joined me as co-host shortly thereafter. And since then, it's just grown so far beyond my initial expectations. It's just crazy. We've been going for over 3 years, every week, except for the week between Christmas and New Year's. And we have had just a fabulous array of authors through these rooms. Veterans, early career folks, science fiction, fantasy, slipstream, horror, just all across the huge tent that is speculative fiction. So it's been a real privilege. You know, we're just getting started. So Story Hour turns to what I like to think of as one of the oldest and most time-honored forms of entertainment, which is folks sitting around the fire telling lies to each other. So here we do exactly that. We've got two authors, about 30 minutes each. And tonight we are delighted to have Richie Narvaez and Holly Lyn Walrath. Now, I'm really happy to announce that we have received a SIFWA Givers Grant for 2023 so that we can continue to keep the lights on and keep these virtual rooms open so that we can keep bringing you fabulous spoken word speculative fiction. It is also our custom, before we get started, to ask our authors to indicate a worthy cause for us to call your attention to. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to help to do that, we've done that tonight as well. But before we go to our authors' recommendations, I'd like to call your attention to how you might be able to support the writers on the front lines of the WGA strike. Founded in 1882, if you can believe that. Is that 18? It can't be that. It must be 1982. That's a typo. The Entertainment Community Fund offers a broad spectrum of programs, workshops, support groups, online resources, and emergency financial assistance to support the unique and essential needs of everybody who works in performing arts and entertainment. Check it out at entertainmentcommunity.org. Holly is reading tonight for Write Space. That's www.writespacehouston.org. Write Space is Houston's writing center. Founded in April 2014, they are a grassroots literary arts organization founded by writers for writers. At Write Space, they support writers of all genres, including writers of literary fiction, poetry, science fiction, fantasy, mystery, and on and on. They have weekly writing workshops led by some of Houston's finest writing teachers. And their intention is to give writers who can't afford to earn an MFA in creative writing the same high quality training and mentorship opportunities that is commonly available through MFA programs. So that is, again, writespacehouston.org. Richie is reading tonight for, actually, I think I attributed Write Space to Richie, and that's Holly's organization. Richie's reading tonight for the NRDC, the Natural Resources Defense Council, nrdc.org. They work to safeguard the earth, its people, its plants and animals, and the natural systems on which all life depends. And this is from their mission statement. We combine the power of more than 3 million members and online activists with the expertise of some 700 scientists, lawyers, and other environmental specialists to confront the climate crisis, protect the planet's wildlife and wild places, and to ensure the rights of all people to clean air, clean water, and healthy communities. So that's nrdc.org. All right, let's rock. We're going to start with Holly tonight. Holly Lyn Walrath is a writer, editor, and publisher. Her poetry and short fiction has appeared in Strange Horizons, Fireside Fiction, Analog, and Flash Fiction Online. She's the author of several books of poetry, including Glimmerglass Girl, Numinos Lapidi, and the smallest of bones. She holds a BA in English from the University of Texas and a master's in creative writing from the University of Denver. Holly, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really glad to be reading tonight. So I wanted to read kind of an older short story. It is a Hans Christian Andersen retelling. And it's Pride Month, so I felt that that was fitting. And it doesn't have, I would say that the content warnings are for the death of a cat, but I promise you it was an old cat. And then also near the end, amputation. So this story is called The Red Shoes. The old woman heard crying in the forest, weeping as faint as the sigh of falling sand in the witch's hourglass. She'd given up the art of witchcraft long ago, curses and promises and gingerbread houses. If other sorceresses still lived, she might have asked them if they grew tired of the taste of small children or the squeezed look on their faces before they went. She cringed to think how a part of her now wanted to hold them, to pull them up into her old arms and cuddle their soft cheeks to her own. But no child walked her woods these days. The children learned long ago to stay away, and no other crones to consult either, only her alone in the rickety house by the creek in the gloomy woods. The cat died long ago, too, or slithered off to become a part of the night. She grew tired of the starlight. Not that she could see a damn bed anymore, but her ears were not as good as ever, and the cry in the woods was not the wind. Not a child, she prayed, or if it is, please let it be a boy. She might turn a boy into a puppy and not feel the ache in the gut, the pulling like bark sloughing off, her evil parts falling away and leaving her raw and naked. The old woman consulted her hourglass. The damn thing had jammed, sure enough. The sand no longer trickled beneath its bulb. She cracked her big knuckles on the glass. A single grain fell. She scoffed and pulled out the pocket watch, stolen from the town clockmaker's son ages ago, a romping blush of a child. Midnight. 12:03 to be exact. What other time for strange things to occur? And the moon, bold in the sky, billowed yellow against the starry night in the smeared window. The cry sounded again, sweet and melodic through the trees. The old woman gave up on sleep and unfolded herself from the straw mattress, her bones crunching under her as she hoisted up her unyielding body. There, the cloak fastened at her neck. She wanted a red cloak, longed to have a reason to go into town and buy one, but she sewed her own clothes these days and never found a child in the woods with a red cloak, or she would not swallow them whole. Decidedly not cloak and all. With its black folds enveloping her, she took up the knotted pine staff and opened the door into the night. It greeted her with a howl, as usual. Oh, shut up, you old grouch, she thought to it. She followed the sound through the trees, across the wood bridge, with no trolls underneath because she ran them out as a young witch. The fight they'd put up, she halfway hoped they might return some day. The strange, darling things. She missed the riddles they sang to her across the water at twilight. By all rights, she should have died years ago. A clever child should have come and burnt her up to a crisp, the right way to go, the decent way. But no such child ever came, or at least if they did, it was her that did the burning. A woodsman should have done it, yes, with a big shining axe like thunder, snapping her neck, or a knight on a horse as pale as moon rings, banishing her away to the farthest depths of the kingdom. Instead, the depths of the kingdom crept up on her in the night, and the magic remained a comfort, but only as far as she could use it. She wove illusions. farces, chimeras shining for a few days, but then diminishing. She picked her way through the trees, following the sound. It sounded real now. Yes, a real child crying in the night. The old woman sighed to herself. Her own breath reminded her of farting. The child started and hiccuped. A lovely red-headed thing, curled in the litter of the forest floor like a fairy in bracken. Its white limbs were speckled like a wren's egg. Yes, it had to be a girl child. The start it gave when it saw her, she cackled a bit at it. It stared back at the old woman with a face as round as a looking glass, tears illuminating its cheeks in the moonlight. For a moment, the old woman leaned on her stick, her mind swimming with the memory of 1,000 dead children. 1,000 little faces, never growing old in her mind's eye. She did not remember them as children, but as adults, happy and married, making new little children of their own. What a joy. New babies with that smell like flour behind their ears, and the parents sent the children off to play in the woods. For a moment, the possibility of bringing back the children seemed real, so real she imagined herself capable of it. The greatest feat of sorcery ever accomplished. Who could boast of such a triumph? And this child would be the last one sacrificed for the good of the others, as good a price as any. For the price of a red spell, a tuppence, her eyes watered. I'm lost, the little girl cried. Yes, dearie, you are far off the path, the old woman replied, and it is so dark and dangerous in the woods. The wolves might come any moment. If only wolves still roamed the woods, or werewolves, now they were a sight to see, at least from the waist down. I miss my mommy, the little girl said, and dissolved into tears again. Dearie, now don't cry. Grandma's here. Grandma will take you to a warm, soft bed, and there will be tea and cakes and crumpets. The old woman reached down and picked up the girl in her bony old arms. Her back crackled like firecrackers going off on a string, but the little thing felt as light as a bunny carried by its scruff. Back to the hut, she weaved a panoply of illusion. The fire made up and stuffed animals and hot tea on the kettle, and the charm of it fooled even the old witch. The little girl ate all the crumpets, and the witch ate all the cakes. She felt so sleepy with the day rising on the horizon, warming the hut with its morning sun. Witches sleep during the day because we might burn away in the light, she reminded herself. The little girl tucked the witch into her straw bed and curled up on the rug beneath her like a cat. The witch could have sworn she heard her purr. In her old age, with no one to see her, with a child asleep at her bedside, what would the others think? But the knitting circle of old witches had died, and she should have too. The little girl chattered. She danced from tree to tree, pointing at the birds and the flowers. What is this and what is that? Walking in the woods down to the village, the old woman wondered if she would ever shut up. Did her parents live in the village? No, the little girl said. They traveled here and there. Long gone by now, roaming drifters, the old woman mused. Mayhap they abandoned her on purpose because of all the damn prattle she put up. The little girl said they had named her Anna, an uninventive name. The witch had half a heart to rename her, but she didn't. Best not to get too attached. The path to the village fell apart under their feet. Deer still used it by the smell of it, but no human had stepped foot on it in ages. The light glared in her eyes, but at least she could make out the houses below with the plumes of smoke curling around their chimneys. She had put on her best going-out hat and given herself the illusion of a daughtery grandmother. It only required a pinch of clarity, of nicety. Let's see, where shall we go, dearie? She said when they reached the skirts of the village. The walk was shorter in the old days and the village sleepier. The tiny township now swarmed with hustle and bustle, storefronts closed for the day, and fat villagers running here and there with brown parcels wrapped in twine. A holiday with all the stores decorated in orange and red. The houses boasted a hint of frost on their thatched heads, and the leaves whisked down the lanes with laughing sounds. The old woman inspected Anna. Massive red curls, skinny white arms poking out of an ill-fitting blue dress, smudged face like a painting. No shoes. No shoes. How could that be? The old woman clicked the heels of her own serviceable boots, complete with shining buckle, and scoffed at the sheer impossibility of it. And then on the corner, the wooden sign of a cobbler's shop, and in the window, the most beautiful shining red shoes in all creation. Little red bows, bright, woody heels that might click just so, and the congenial rosy face of the cobbler behind the window. The tinkle of the chime over the door like fairy bells, and in an instant, Anna perched upon a stool, and the little red shoes fit on her feet like magic. How she cooed over them! Her girlish voice ratcheted up to a new octave. Just the thing, the witch thought. Yes, they were just the thing. For an orphan who needed cheering up and a spell to be under, the grandest spell, a turning of the earth backwards, years and years erased under the click of red slippers, taking the old witch back to the beginning so many years ago. She had wandered lost in the woods herself, a little girl, and by chance a fairy found her. Or was she a queen, or mayhap a sorceress like herself? Yes, that was closer to the truth. A beautiful sorceress soaring through the trees, floating on air, and the sorceress gave her words to say, to promise, and the child who had become the old witch watched a star fall from the sky, or had it been a starling? She tried to go back to the village, but they choked her. No, a priest held her up to the light, and the light buried itself in her heart, deep in her chest for no one to see. The light tried to burn her alive. Dead kittens and all, dead parents, dead children, years and years of them, white-faced, brown-faced, sweet and mean, short and stout, boy and girl. She escaped into the woods to hide what she had become, but all would resolve now with the red shoes. Two Rubicon pieces of joy. They walked around the town, Anna dancing with ecstasy. She leaned on the arm of the old woman, teetered on the edge of the fountain, and the villagers did not cast suspicious glances, but smiled at them. They smiled at the old witch. How little they knew. She wondered how many of their children she had killed, how many brothers or sisters, how many she had known as children. Surely she knew some of their faces, but no. She left no survivors. She knew it in her heart. She hadn't let one go. The illusion felt so sweet, she carried it on another day. She took Anna to the village, and this time they sat in the church itself, with all the villagers worshiping, no less. The same church where the priest walked the aisles with a burning rope, swinging sickness left and right, sweet incense. The old witch cackled to herself as she sat in the pew with Anna in her red shoes. How the villagers whispered and hissed, how it scandalized them. A little girl with red shoes in church. Aye, the fun of it was almost worth the chatter of the child. Another day, another amusement. They took the red shoes to confession. The priest's face burned purple, and he sputtered over the prayers. The witch stared him down through the ivy wood of the partition, but he didn't recognize her. When she saw him again outside the booth, she realized the old priest must have died years and years ago. This one looked like a young boy, hardly old enough to be a man. Sunlight aged the witch, and she took to sleeping through the day. Anna curled at her feet across the bedspread, her red hair shining like rivulets of patent leather. The witch's bones felt thin, hollow. Perhaps I am dying, she pondered. The final spell hung unfinished. She bought Anna a red dress to match the shoes and a red cloak with a silver clasp shaped like a dove, and the girl grew like a weed, a white daisy with a sun-shining face. That's what she is, the old witch thought. A daisy draped in red, bees' pollen. At night, Anna read to her fairy tales. That's what little girls like. But the old woman liked them too. She tried not to laugh in all the wrong places, like when the wolf devoured the protagonist whole. No wolves in the woods to come hunting after her little girl. Her years of sorcery kept them both safe. They kept Anna beautiful. They could not keep her young. The old woman knew that herself. She tried it once, but youth is irrepressible, uncatchable, not like a firefly trapped in glass. If you wished for youth, you merely got long life, and that just meant you remained old for a very, very long time. Then one day, Anna asked to go to a dance. Alone, the old woman said, "You would leave your dear old granny?" "But, Granny, you're too old to go to a dance." Her voice echoed like bells in the trees, bells tied on leaves and sycamore boughs. The old woman felt weary of the sound, as beautiful as it was. Anna grew taller each day. Her hair shone under the red cloak like fresh picked strawberries. She wanted to spend more days in the village. At times she seemed scornful of the witch. Adolescence, the witch surmised. The shoes, leave the red shoes. I'd like to look upon them. Wear some other pair. Granny, you know I can't go anywhere without my red shoes. She scurried away from the old woman's hands. Soft, pretty thing. The witch grasped at memory. Something about the dance and the shoes and the spell. Had she placed a spell on the girl? But she couldn't kill her, not this one. She was different. She was special. Anna would bring back all the other girls, all the other children, the red spell. But she never completed it. Her memory flared. She'd been distracted by the joy of Anna, of her sacrificial beauty. The spell needed boiling. It needed words. Had she grown so old as to forget all that? Go then, I'll make some tea for when you return. The old woman placed the big black kettle on the stove. Anna kissed her gray cheek and dashed away, a robin in the woods. The witch boiled water. Tea leaves, yes, for the mint and the smell. Then the heartstrings, the lizard's tails, the frog's feet, the black mud from the creek underneath the bridge where the trolls used to live, a lock of red hair, a silver bell, apple drop candy, the blue eyes of a snow-white kitten, dove feathers, crow feathers, dust, ash, a broken hourglass, wind from the woods, memories of the lambs, all the little clippings and souvenirs through the years, fingers and toes and ribbons and bows. It all boiled up, thumping against the lid of the pot. It steamed and simmered, and the old woman stirred and murmured over it. It turned to shining gold, yes, a gold like liquid sun, and the old woman heard a knocking at the window, a parade of children peeking through the glass, their souls darting against it like butterfly wings. So many children lost in the woods. She stirred faster, moaning over the pot, but their faces turned sad and dark and evil and laughing like clear ringing bells. She whirled away, knocking the pot awry. Black sludge seeped into the floorboards. The old woman stumbled out of the door. The wind howled into her face, biting cold. A winter snowstorm threatened in the sky. White, broken flecks fell through the trees, and her boots slipped in the icy muck. She ran to the village with the strength of 1,000 children in her bones. The town hall sparkled. Rows of carriages lined the streets, and the horses huffed at her. The windows shone with a rosy golden glow, but voices inside cried out, screaming and trapped. The old woman crawled to the window and looked inside. Taffeta and tulle, the dresses, all in the way, crowding away from the center of the room. Faces etched in open screams. Yes, yes, but where was the girl? The villagers pounded on the doors. In the middle of the room, yes, she could see her now, Anna, red shoes flying. She danced, spun, twirled like she'd never danced before, her arms akimbo and her legs unwilling partners. The shoes danced her, and she was their slave. a strange dance like the death flight of two birds in the sky. The red shoes chimed like bells ringing again and again, clicking their heels feverishly. The people pushed each other, climbing over their bodies to reach the door. Help! Anna cried out to the villagers. They screamed louder, covering her cries. Someone help! Make it stop! Her heels flashed and sparks flew, and the wood scorched with their fever. Soon it would smolder and flame. Then a woodsman, a muscled man with a flannel shirt and a beard down to here, stepped out of the crowd, a shining axe thrown over his shoulder. He walked forward, his face set. He heaved the axe down, a bright blade sung in the air. The old witch watched as the blade split the shoes atwain from the girl, the red glorious to see. The old witch's heart seized up inside of her. She felt tears on her wrinkled cheeks. Red spell gone wrong, all the wrong red on the wood floor. Stupid villagers slipping in it. The old woman's shoulders slumped. She unlatched the hall door and kneeled prostrate before the crowd. Their feet plowed over her, clipping her face here and an elbow there, her old bones crushed like sparks on a grinder's wheel. Nothing to bury, nothing to miss. Anna married the woodsman. She returned to the cobbler, and he made her new feet made of sturdy wood. She became pious and hobbled to church each Sunday. They never found her feet in the red shoes. The villagers whispered that they had danced away into the woods. They never saw the witch again, although they found her empty hut, huddled in the snow. It no longer looked like a witch's hut. A beef stew spilled on the floor, and the curtains were common gingham. Wolves roamed the forest. At night, the villagers swore they heard the howls of werewolves. The ravens talked and kittens went missing. Parents no longer sent children out alone to pick berries or to journey to their grandmother's house. Rumors grew of trolls under the bridges and fairies in the trees that grabbed your hair as you walked by. The wind howled evermore. So that's the end of that one. It's in the Crone Girls Press Coppice and Break anthology, which came out a few years ago and has some really amazing stories. And Crone Girls Press is this really excellent feminist press that I highly recommend you check out. I have 2 stories with them, and yeah, that's that. I hope you enjoyed
awesome.
it.
That was lovely. Thank you so much, Holly.
Yeah.
I just love the voice. So it's our custom just to pause for a moment between authors and let the previous work sort of resonate. And we're going to do that before we move on. So let's just take a moment. Holly Lyn Walrath, everybody, thank you so much. Our next author, Richie Narvaez, teaches at the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan. His short stories have appeared in Mississippi Review, Pilgrimage, Story Glossia, and Tiny Nightmares, among others. His slipstream short story, Room for Rent, in the anthology Latinx Rising, was read by LeVar Burton on the LeVar Burton Reads podcast. His most recent novel is the YA mystery Holly Hernandez and the Death of Disco. Wonderful title. And his latest book is the anthology Noirican. I believe I've got that.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
All right, Richie, thanks for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you to Laura as well for having me on again. It's great to be here. I'm going to read a short story called A Thing with Feathers. It is going to appear in an anthology called A Night of Screams, edited by Richard Z. Santos, and it is out later this month from Arte Publico. So this is A Thing with Feathers. My agent grew heavy on my shoulders. With each second, I became dizzier, hazier. Tell me again, I said hoarsely. Tell me again about the book deal. Of course, darling, she whispered in my ear, coffee strong on her breath. Monarch Publishing is offering you a $100,000 advance on The Strangest Sea, and they want a sequel. But everybody dies at the end. Sequels are in. You'll figure it out. They're hungry for it. Hungry, I tell you. And they want you to add more romance and some fantasy elements. What? Did I tell you? Meryl Estevez will be editing your book. Meryl Estevez. Oh my vision blurred. So hard to believe. Are you not a great writer? Are you not as good as Garcia Marquez, Vargas Llosa? Vargas, why? Is the world not dying to read your words? Yeah, then believe it, believe it. Her tendrils sank deep into my neck, tightened around my spine. Never lose hope. Her dusty wings fluttered, and her full weight settled on me like a battleship, a skyscraper, a moon, and I shivered with bliss. Hours later, when I left my agent's office, I wanted to celebrate and called my girlfriend, Araceli. This is it, baby. I told her my moment, the big time, all I hope for, 100 grand. I don't know, Edwin, she said. Didn't you just meet this agent? Do you even know if she's legit? She could be a con woman, you know. She's not. She knows people. She knows Meryl Estevez. Meryl Estevez, she's got a jillion Instagram followers. See? Come on, let's get a big steak dinner and get stinking. That sounds terrific, Edwin, but I'm afraid Idalise and I can't. She has a recital tomorrow, remember? I'm getting snacks together now. I could hear her daughter, Idalise, in the background rehearsing, "This girl is on fire," at the top of her lungs. Right, sorry, I forgot. I'd met Araceli on Tinder. Her profile had said Aquarius and mine Gemini. That was all it took. The vibes were strong, and we averaged 100 texts a day for a while. I would have moved in with her, but she had a daughter, and I hated wearing clothes in the house, so we put it off. Lately, we'd just been drifting. I sent you an invite. The more people in the audience, the better. Sure, I wouldn't miss it for the world. I hung up and called my friend Yo Elvis. He was always up for a good time. We agreed to meet at the White Horse Tavern in the West Village. I took a stool at the bar, and 10 minutes later, he walked in his leather duster and his paunch-filled, "Pay no attention to my browser history, I'm a writer" t-shirt. The first thing he said to me was, "Dude, you look awful." "Screw you," I said, surprised at how much it sounded like the cackle of a cancerous smoker. We got a table, and I opened my pleather briefcase to show Yo Elvis a bottle of mid-range champagne I'd bought at some point on the way over. Oddly, I couldn't remember where or when. I said, "Hey, I got a book deal with Monarch Publishing. We're going to celebrate." "Wow, which book?" "The Strangest Sea." "Really? That one?" "Yeah, that one. And they want a sequel and romance and a fantasy angle. But you despise fantasy and romance. And don't all the characters die in the end?" Yo Elvis was a writer too, had struggled for years to get his epic sci-fi noir novel accepted. He'd asked me to beta read it, and I tried, I did, but it was 1,200 pages long with maps and a glossary. I couldn't get through it, so I just did a spell check and told him it was solid. The waiter, too good looking not to be a wannabe actor because New York, marched over then and chewed gum at my bubbly. You can't bring in your own liquor. We have champagne here if you want. Yeah, no thank you, I said, not wanting to pay $15 for what was likely a glass of flat liquid. I ordered a Manhattan. After the waiter left, Joe Elvis took out a Swiss Army knife and under the table worked open the champagne. When the cork popped, Joe Elvis coughed loudly. The waiter gave us a look, but we just twiddled our thumbs. Whenever the waiter's back was turned, Joe Elvis and I took turns swigging from the bottle. Here's to success, I said. Success, Joe Elvis said. Hey, I thought you just sent this agent a manuscript last month. I did, but she loved it, sent it right out. And Monarch, they loved it, called her to accept it right away. I'm that good. You see, I just had to believe in myself. Joe Elvis was a good friend, but at that moment, I could smell his envy, taste it in the air between us like a hot dog burp. I knew what he was going to say next. He toyed with his plastic coaster like a teenager getting up the nerve. Hey, maybe, do you think, could you introduce me to your agent? I haven't had much luck, and if I just had the right agent, I don't know, I said. Her dance card is full. Sorry, pal. It wasn't that. I just didn't want to share my agent. I wanted her to focus on me as much as she could. This was my chance to rise. Stumbling home that night after 5 Manhattans, I remembered we'd left an empty champagne bottle under the table. I wish I could have seen that waiter's face when he found it. Sunday, I went over to Araceli's place in Washington Heights, a pre-World War II building with hallways that smelled of bleach and road-killed skunk. When I came into the apartment, they had hung a banner saying, "Congratulations." Araceli had bought me a 6-pack and cooked dinner, and she at Idley's had baked me a cake that said, "Author, author." With dessert, Idley's stood on her chair and said, "I hope you become the best, most famous writer in the world." She sang it like it was an aria in an angelic, clear voice and took a dramatic bow. Later, once Idley's was asleep, Araceli and I went to her bedroom, got undressed, and went at it. In the middle of it, she said real soft and tender, "Edwin, I want you to know Idley's and I are very proud of you. We are. We never doubted you." In response, in an effort to show I would always remain humble and always be myself, even when I got famous, even as I cashed giant royalty checks and received literary awards and had to make numerous speeches, I lifted my leg and released a generous beer fart. But it came out louder and ruder sounding than I intended, and after that, there was only silence. I spent the next few days thinking about my book deal. I was on cloud 9, cloud 11, hell, cloud 500 trillion. My agent had said she would send over the contracts. I watched my Gmail like it was a kettle, and I kept watching. It was taking a little while. And while this waiting was going, I decided, what the hell? I'd go to that Association of American Authors annual ball I'd been invited to. Even though I'd been paying my yearly dues, I'd been skipping the monthly associated meetings, having gotten sick of people bragging about their agents, their editors, their life-changing book deals. But now I finally had something to brag about. I dressed up, wore my good blazer, not the one from J. Crew. At the ball, I was happy to enjoy mouthfuls of shrimp cocktail because I'd been feeling kind of wan lately. As I lingered by the phone, Ignacia, an acquaintance/rival/one-time Yaddo Writers Colony fling, slid next to me, kissed me wetly on the cheek. She wore a thick turtleneck sweater and not enough deodorant. She said, "Hi, it's exceptional to see you." I said, "Meryl Estevez at Monarch will be editing my novel." "Your novel? Really?" And just then, a tall woman passing by in a tailored pantsuit 180'd like a Ferrari. I recognized her instantly and began schwitzing. "Excuse me," Meryl Estevez said. "Did you say my name? Not to be nosy, but I'd love to hear the context." I shook her hand with gusto. "Holy smokes! Ms. Estevez, it's a pleasure to meet you. Yes, you're going to be editing my novel. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to working with you." "Et vous êtes qui?" Grinning, I told her about the $100,000 two-book deal. She said, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I know who we read, I know who we sign, and I know I have never heard of you or your book. Ciao." She turned away, searching for someone more interesting, and vroomed back into the crowd. Ignacia didn't even try to hide her smirk as she moved toward the baked brie. "See you on the bestseller list," she said. I was flabbergasted, embarrassed. I left without having another shrimp. I called my agent as soon as I got outside. No answer. At home, I wrote her a long email. Had I misunderstood what she'd said? Was it another editor at another house, an Errol Mestevez or something like that? Should I start on the sequel or what? How much romance should I put in? How much fantasy? And if so, did she think bringing all the Stranger Sea characters back from the dead would be cool? Or should I jump ahead a generation? Could it be a prequel? Could she get back to me, please, please, ASAP? Days went by, weeks. I didn't want to be that author. Didn't want to get a rep as a pain to work with. Didn't want to screw myself over for any future opportunities. I waited to the end of the following month to send another email. Nothing. More months went by. The euphoria of the book deal waned. I began to wonder about what I really wanted. All this uncertainty, all this waiting, all this anxiety. Was it all worth it? It was winter before I psyched myself up to see my agent in person. Her office was in an apartment building on the Upper East Side, and the first thing she told me when I signed with her was that I should never, ever come by without an appointment. But I needed the lowdown, so all bets were off. The door guy didn't even look up when I walked past him and took the elevator. When I got off on my agent's floor and to her door, lucky for me, another person was leaving her apartment. Another writer, no doubt, because she wore huge tinted glasses and a vast scarf that, whatever it had once been made of, was now mostly cat hair. A major advance, she wheezed as she stumbled past, hugging the paisley wallpaper, a dreamy grin on her face like she just huffed a bag stuffed with lotus leaves. Major. Inside the apartment/office, my agent was nowhere to be found. I walked into the shagged rug living room, down the only hallway past the bathroom, to what seemed to be a bedroom. Spilling out of the doorway was paper. As I got closer, I realized these were typewritten pages, pages and pages of manuscripts. Closer, I saw the room itself was filled several feet deep by these pages in a circular pattern with a depression in the middle. "Edwin! Sunshine!" Her voice bellowed from somewhere behind me, accompanied by the sound of thick, fibrous wings. "How great to see you!" She fluttered down onto my sloping shoulders. "You look gorgeous." "Just hold on," I said, trying to twist away. I want to know what's happening with my book deal. I was so stoked. Did I do something wrong? She purred, "My dear, publishing takes time and patience. This is the big four, the big four." I thought it was the big five. That was last month. "Darling, you don't want it to be published by some hybrid pressed by a loser on a laptop in a garage, do you? Do you?" No, of course not. Of course, darling. "And you wouldn't want to self-publish," she hissed. "Oh, God forbid, no," I squirmed, although it doesn't carry the stigma it once did. "Don't be a fool. Who else understands you like I do? Who else knows what secret dreams of mainstream acceptance are perched in your soul? Only I do." I didn't know anymore. I slumped down and her tendrils penetrated skin, entered the back of my neck, melded with veins, wrapped themselves around my spine, and sucked. I surrendered to bliss, the bliss of possibility. That's better, she said, taking a long, noisy slurp. Now, let me tell you about this movie option I got for you. Big time. Jackpot. Spielberg himself is interested. And, wait. Something's wrong. I can taste it. She removed herself from me, leaving me feeling like a gaping wound. You have doubts. She spat, bitter doubts. What, me? No. Maybe. You want a book deal or not? I think so. Think so. You've got no, she flapped her long, thin, hollow tongue against her lips. No hope. I can't work with that. It'll come back, promise. If you want me to keep working for you, dear, you'll have to do better than that. What do you mean? What do you want me to do? The next day, Yo Elvis met me at the White Horse Tavern. When I walked in, he was already there, his smile wide as a keyboard. He wore a t-shirt that read, I believe in truth, beauty, and the Oxford comma. I'm so glad you called me, so glad, he said, his voice kind of hoarse. After vacillating about it for hours, I had made up my mind on the way over. I would bring my best friend to my agent. I would give him to her. It wasn't a bad thing to do. No, it was what he wanted after all. Win-win. Yeah, I'm sure you are, I said. I was going to call you, in fact, he said, then coughed loudly. I said, I wanted to talk to you about and that's just it. I have great news. I signed a deal, got an agent. This guy in Midtown knows all the right people, got me a deal at Emperor Books. Emperor? Inside, I cringed. Yeah, man, you know I've been trying for years, rejection after rejection. I've got a folder full. All I ever needed was just one agent to believe in me. Sure, I said, congratulations, cheers, everything. The waiter from the last time we were both there came around. He must have recognized us because he gave us a stink eye that would have earned the Academy Award for stink eyes. As he was ordering, Yo Elvis had a coughing fit and bent over. I noticed then dark red scars on the back of his neck. I knew those scars well. I'd seen them in the mirror. That weekend, I went to Araceli's apartment as depressed and disappointed as a high school English teacher. On top of that, since it wasn't a special occasion, dinner would be frozen pizza. Sorry about the pizza, Araceli said, tossing it into the oven with a crack. This was the only thing in the fridge, but it won't always be like this. Good times are ahead. I know that in my heart. Sweet Araceli, so full of hope. That made me think. Such hope. Could it work? Would my agent accept? Araceli, I said, I was wondering. Yeah? At that very second, tumbling out of the bedroom, came Adelise, her daughter, doing a cartwheel while yelling, since you've been gone. I stopped and thought again, of course, look at her face, her big bright eyes. She was a fountain, a goddamn factory of hope. She had the corner market on hope. She was a worldwide conglomerate of hope. Adelise, honey, I said, how would you like to come meet my agent? Okay, she said, innocent as a pup. Edwin, what are you talking about? Why would she want to meet your agent? Oh, she might want to be a writer someday, huh? She has aspirations. She wants to be a singer. She has talent. But younger writers are in demand. They're photogenic, social media savvy. Publishers love that. They're like an investment. I don't like the sound of that. She could do a middle grade memoir. A memoir, she's 10. And the worst thing that has happened to her was my not letting her dye her hair blue. It won't take long. It'll be a fun ride. On the subway, of course. Yay, a ride, Adelise said. Araceli took a bottle of beer out for me, but then put it back and poured some wine for me and some water on top of it to stretch it. Looking at me, she said, Adelise, did you wash your hands yet today? The kid shook her head. Not since Thursday. Go wash your hands. The girl somersaulted to the bathroom. Araceli and I sat in silence waiting for my cardboard slices. When the kid came out, I went to the John. It was after I came back that I heard a hacking cough. The kid. And then I saw the back of Adelise's neck. Dark red scars. Araceli caught my look. No, you don't you dare judge, she said. I have dreams too. I have ambitions. I don't want to stay in this stinking apartment forever. And Adelise has talent There was a talent scout outside her school today. He explained everything. He says she's a shoo-in for America's Got Talent. This could be her moment. Sure, I repeated. Her moment. I stuck around for the pizza because why not? And then I shuffled out. I stomped around the city afterward to move, to not think, from the Upper West Side way down to the Village. I found myself back at the White Horse, got the same snotty wannabe actor waiter again. I ordered a Manhattan and let it get warm in my hand. What was I gonna do? My literary career looked stalled in place, and to be honest, I wasn't even sure I wanted it to go anywhere anymore. When I went to pay the check, I dropped my credit card. The waiter bent down to get it, and there it was. I should have known. Dark red scars. Once you start looking for something, you find it on the street, on the subway, in bars, franchise restaurants, bodegas. Port Authority not so much, but they'd all be getting theirs soon. So many scars. So many dreamers. I didn't go home. I sat on a bench outside Central Park and watched the sky grow lighter. And then I made my way to my agent's. The door was ajar. I ripped it open, and filling the doorway were books, stacks and stacks of books, some going as high as the ceiling. A narrow gap between the teetering piles formed a corridor that led me to the back room. My agent lay in her nest, now ringed with books and boxes of books. She was bloated, enormous. Edwin, darling! Hey, you okay? My dear. She rolled herself over to the bottom of a stair stack and began to climb it. She motioned for me to move toward its summit. I don't know, but darling, I have seen the future, and yours will be lit up by 5-star reviews. Did Monarch? Who needs Monarch? I'm starting my own publishing company. You sign a contributory contract and your book will be out in less than a week. And what's more, you'll make 40% of the profits on ebooks, that is. Didn't you say small publishing companies were a bad thing? I was so wrong. It's a much steadier vein. And consider this, darling, we can publish your book as is. No added romance or fantasy. In fact, not even a single edit. That's what spell check is for. And you can even, but I like a copy edit. That's what spell check is for. And you can even design your own cover. Her wings, gleaming now, fluttered slowly, causing a breeze and pushing the dust of the apartment into my face. I sneezed, sniffled. I guess. Don't be abashed, Edwin. Turn around. I did as I was told. Ah, she said, smacking her lips. There's absolutely nothing in this world like fresh hope. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't give a content warning. There was some rude language. I apologize.
No worries. That was awesome, Richie. Thank you so much.
I think we needed the content warning for the, what was it? Dreams of mainstream acceptance?
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
tag me next time.
Yeah. Trigger warning. Sorry.
Yeah.
And a content warning for dashed hope and bitterness. Oh man, that was wonderful.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
And as we did with Holly, I want to take a breath. Just let the work ring for a moment before we say goodnight.
Thank you for having me, by the way. Thank you again, Daniel and Laura.
Our great pleasure. Richie Narvaez, Holly Lyn Walrath. You're both welcome back anytime. So just reach out. We'd really love to have you again.
Thank you.
And thanks to my co-host Laura Blackwell for partnering with me on this adventure. 3+ years now, still going strong. I couldn't ask for a better collaborator. And thank you all out there for coming back week after week and really making this possible and worth doing. Next week, we have Wen Yi Li and I Cheng So until then, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and we'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.